Today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
When my son was 5 years old, he stabbed 3 family members.
Now, 10 years later,
DJ is a ticking time bomb. He has these violent episodes. He also broke my nose.
If I really tried to, I could kill somebody.
I feel like a hostage in my own home.
living in fear.
You are sincerely afraid that you could wind up dead.
Absolutely.
You say she could get seriously hurt.
Yeah, her or my sister or anybody else around.
I don't know how to help him.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. DJ made headlines when he stabbed 3 of his family members and then fought off police when they arrived. But one of the most disturbing details about the attack was that DJ was not an adult at the time of the stabbing. He was 5 years old. And it was reportedly all because of a fight over a juice box.
The Greene County Sheriff's Department says a 5-year-old stabbed 3 people with what they're calling an edged object. 2 juveniles and 1 adult stabbed in what neighbors tell us was a dispute over a juice box. Some neighbors tell CBS 19 that the child has an anger problem and physically abuses his mother. Other neighbors, however, were shocked by the allegation.
I've always seen him ride his bike around. He's a happy-go-lucky little dude.
Greene County Sheriff says he's seen children throw temper tantrums, but nothing like this.
Well, flash forward to today, and DJ is 14, and his mother, Victoria, says that his violent and out-of-control rages have only escalated. In fact, over the years, she's called the police on her son over 50 times, sent him to residential treatment 6 times, and now has to lock herself in her bedroom at night because she says DJ regularly attacks and threatens to kill her. Now, Victoria says she's so afraid of DJ that she abides by his every rule, gives in to his every demand because, and I quote, "I don't want to lose my life over a chicken nugget."
My son, DJ, is a ticking time bomb. His episodes are very unpredictable. When they happen, they are very explosive. They're very scary. DJ? I feel like a hostage in my own home. My son DJ has charged at me to grab me by my throat, to strangle me, to punch me, to kick me, to pull my hair. My son bit me on both of my arms right here. It was so swollen that now I have permanent nerve damage in both arms. I locked myself in my bedroom to avoid an episode. I am very afraid of my son. He will punch holes in walls, he'll break doors, kick them in, he'll break TVs. He has busted my car windshield multiple times. When DJ wants something, if I don't make it for him right away, he'll flip out. One time he wanted chicken nuggets and I told him that he needed to cook them himself, and he became very upset and blocked me into my kitchen, and he kept charging at me so that I would just do what he asked. I don't want to lose my life over chicken nuggets. There are certain situations that aren't worth it. When my son was 5 years old, he stabbed 3 family members. He overheard something that he didn't like, and he began throwing things and destroying property in our home. He calmed down and he asked to get a juice box out of the fridge, but instead he grabbed a knife out of the drawer. He stabbed 1 family member in the arm, another one in the leg, and another one in the back of the neck. He has these violent episodes now at 14 years old, 2 to 3 times a week. One time I was sitting on my couch and out of nowhere he began punching himself in the head, and I have no idea why. He also broke my nose. He asked me for a hug, and as he was about to hug me, he punched me. I still have a lump right here on the side of my nose. I can't control my son. There are dozens of times I've had to call the police. I have sent him to multiple group homes, residential facilities. No matter what I do, nothing seems to help.
All right, Victoria, you are sincerely and genuinely afraid that he's now gotten big enough, strong enough, and has a level of violence that you could wind up dead.
Yes, sir.
He was lethal at a young age.
Absolutely, at a very young age.
And this really wasn't over a juice box. There was a lot more going on. The media just kind of summarized it as a juice box, right?
Most definitely. It was most certainly not about a juice box. It was about a family situation that was going on.
Right. And do you have any ability to predict situations, circumstances, events that will trigger this violence and attack mode in him, or does it truly come out of the blue?
There are many times where I can kind of see it coming, but there are multiple occasions where I do not see any signs of it whatsoever.
Okay. So there are areas where you know this is volatile, this could be a problem, but then there are times, like you said, where he's coming to hug you and then kind of mid movement, it changes from a hug to a punch in the face.
Yes. Yep.
You know, he's smashed screens to computers, TVs, or whatever. He's punched holes. He's thrown the phone against the wall. He's kicked the door in when the police were coming and broke the bookshelf where it's caved in. So, I mean, just whatever's in his way, whatever he can lash out against, including his own head.
Right.
Now, that's a self-harm type thing. What do you think is going on there? Is he frustrated with himself for an inability to do something, or what's happening?
I think there's some frustration with himself, also wanting to try to control enough that he's not hurting someone else at times, and I think he just takes it out on himself.
So you think some of it might be deflection?
Right.
On his part, where he's trying to keep from aggressing against somebody else.
Right.
So having been through this for all this time, now for over 10 years, what's your maternal instinct tell you is going on? Is this a personality issue with him? Is it involuntary? Is he spoiled rotten and entitled? Is it the product of poor modeling? What's going on here?
I do believe that at one point in time I was probably too easy on him, but after 10 years of this and trying so many different things, I firmly believe it's a medical issue that's just causing harm and psychiatric issues.
So you think there's something going on with him, either biochemically or neurologically or some way where he's not able to modulate or regulate his emotions?
Right, absolutely.
So you do think there's a point at which he becomes a passenger?
Right. I do think so.
He's on a runaway train going down a dark hole.
Completely out of control. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are there times when he can't remember what happened?
There are times where he cannot remember what happened.
So it's a blackout situation.
It is.
So what you have is a ticking time bomb.
I do.
You've got someone that you have no doubt if something doesn't change, the day's going to come, whether intentionally or otherwise, he's going to seriously hurt somebody.
Absolutely. I have no doubt.
And you're a really good candidate for that because of his access to you.
I am. Unfortunately, it stinks to say that, but yeah, I do feel like I'm his biggest target.
Okay. Victoria's younger sister, Harley, says Victoria has zero control over DJ. Says she does let him walk all over her, and even worse, has made him feel unloved and unwanted by shipping him off to whatever family member or residential facility is willing to take him. We'll meet Harley after the break. We'll be right back.
My nephew, when he's angry, something else takes over. I ended up catching the brunt of the violence. He punched me in the face twice. Just pop, pop really quick. DJ will never get better as long as my sister doesn't change.
And later, you say that your mom is afraid of you. Should she be afraid of you?
She shouldn't have to be, but in this case, she does. Somebody could get seriously hurt.
Anything can trigger my son. If I tell him no, he'll explode. One time we were in the car, he wanted French fries from a fast food restaurant, and I told him no. He became so upset, he began kicking the seats and threatening to open the car doors and jump out if I didn't stop and get him his French fries. And he began pulling my head back so that I couldn't see when I was driving. He was cursing at me, calling me names, very defiant. I ended up going to the fast food restaurant and got him the French fries because it was a choice between, do I want to survive this trip or not?
Victoria says during DJ's explosive episodes, he has broken her nose, smashed her forehead with a 2x4, and once bit her arm so hard that it caused nerve damage. She says she has no choice but to call the police whenever DJ starts raging.
My son is getting much bigger and stronger these days, and I have had to call the police so many times just to help me restrain him. I've had to call the police at least 50 times. They are not usually able to calm him down. They usually have to call for backup. He kicks and fights the officers just as he does with me. There are many times that I've had to text my neighbor to call the police when he's having his episodes, because if he thinks that I'm calling the police, he will escalate. One time when I texted my neighbor, he saw me texting and he attacked me with twice the force. He grabbed me by my hair and he tried to pin me to the floor. I went in my room and he kicked the door in and he broke a bookshelf in half. When the police arrived, he attacked the police officers. He attempted to grab one service weapon. It took about 11 officers to get him out of my apartment to the hospital, and it took them about an hour to do so. A few of them came in, it looked like they had riot gear on.
DJ's Aunt Harley says Victoria is the main trigger and also the primary target of his explosive rage, but Harley says DJ has attacked and injured her as well.
I love my nephew with my entire heart. Oh, you're quick scoping.
Yeah.
Nice. Him and I have always had a very special relationship. When DJ is not having one of his episodes, he is the sweetest angel you will ever meet. He has a heart of gold. My nephew, when he's angry, it is like he is a zombie. He completely checks out and something else takes over. One time when I was helping my sister with an episode with my nephew, I ended up catching the brunt of the violence. My sister, her blood pressure shot through the roof and she collapsed. My nephew gave me this look. He reached over my sister and punched me in the face twice. Just pop, pop really quick. He gave me 2 black eyes, a fractured eye socket, and sprained my thumb. Another time, my sister, my daughter, and I had to lock ourselves in the bathroom because he was trying to get to us and hurt us. My sister Victoria is always expecting the worst out of DJ. DJ will never get better as long as my sister doesn't change. I think that because of her trying to avoid DJ's episodes, that she has taught him that she can very easily be a pushover, and he knows that he's in control. My sister doesn't pay attention to DJ unless she thinks that an episode is gonna happen. My sister thinks the best way to deal with her son is to send him off somewhere else where she doesn't have to deal with him anymore.
Do you think she's trying to get or let other people raise her child instead of her? You say she ships him off to family members, treatment centers?
Yeah, I think that when there comes to the point where Tori doesn't know what to do anymore, she just tries her best to find somebody else to help.
Since he was 5 years old, out of 115 possible months, she's only had DJ in her home 36 of those 115 months. That's less than a third of the time. Mm-hmm. And you've had a good relationship with him for a lot of his life, right?
Yes.
But then he's also punched you in the face. What triggered that?
DJ was having an episode. I can't remember exactly why, but my sister called me for help, and I went to her to help, and she collapsed into my arms, and my nephew looked at me as if I just killed his mother. So I believe that in his head, he thought it was my fault, and he snapped on me. He reached over her body and just pop, pop, right in each eye.
You have a 10-year-old daughter.
I do.
How is he with her?
In general, he's pretty great with her. He loves her to death. And there have been 2 times over the years that he slapped her But then yesterday, something happened that I've never seen happen before. Out of the blue, while we were in the vehicle, he jumps up and starts choking her and then started holding her down by her throat and punched her repeatedly in the side of the head. And he just collapsed after it was said and done and kept asking, why did that happen? I don't know what just happened.
Okay, now, what was her reaction to this?
Oh, she was hysterical. She had a panic attack and was screaming. I had to pull her out and calm her down. It was a lot.
All right, well, this morning, Victoria flat out refused to even drive to the studio with her son, fearing another incident. So what is it about Victoria that upsets DJ so much? Well, we're going to meet him, and I'm going to ask him about that after the break.
He wasn't really upset when we left the hotel. I could tell that he was on the verge of something.
I think it's best to just leave him alone.
You don't want to talk to me?
Nope.
I was extremely cautious because I didn't know whether he was going to snap.
My son eats and breathes video games. If there's a glitch in the game and he can't play them, then he will very quickly get irritated and at some point become violent.
He used to play violent games, but my sister does not allow that because it attributes to his attitude very much.
I have tried so many times to set limits with his video games. The last time I had to call the police, it was because he woke me up in the middle of the night wanting to play video games on my phone, and I told him no. And he became upset. He kicked my door in, and I had to leave my apartment.
Well, DJ admits that he regularly has wild, uncontrollable outbursts that typically end with him in handcuffs. He says once he gets truly angry, there's absolutely nothing, and no one that can calm him down. Now, right before DJ's scheduled sit-down interview, his mom says he had, well, a mini incident and then refused to talk to my team.
Today when we arrived, my son DJ didn't want to get out of the van. He just shut down and stopped responding. He wasn't really upset when we left the hotel. I could tell that he was on the verge of something.
I think it's best to just leave him alone. When we were trying to get DJ out of the van, I was extremely cautious because I didn't know whether he was going to snap.
I absolutely think he would have had an outburst if we continued. You don't want to talk to me?
Nope.
How come?
This thing.
What if he did it while you're playing the game?
Nah.
You ready to go? We're gonna get started.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Do you think you have anger issues?
Oh yeah, I know I have anger issues. Usually I just automatically get mad. Like it just comes out of nowhere. I usually get angry at my mom the most. She thinks she knows everything. Some of the things I do to my mom, kick her, spit on her, cuss her out, headbutt her. A lot of the times I'm just trying to scare her. Whenever I hurt my mom or something, afterwards, when I calm down, I feel really bad about it. If I really tried to, I could kill somebody if I wanted to. One time, I was outside, a couple of kids were causing trouble and they killed a squirrel. I love animals, so I got mad and I grabbed the branch that they beat the squirrel with and chased them around the neighborhood with it. My aunt called the police and I just stood outside their house until police got there. They immediately pulled their tasers out and had them pointed at me. And at that point, I had already blacked out, so I wasn't gonna listen to anything anybody said. At one point, the police told me to put the branch down, and I swung at one of them and hit him in the leg with it. I didn't go to jail or juvie, I just went to a residential facility. I don't feel like the treatment facilities have really helped. Makes me feel like my mom doesn't want me around.
Well, DJ, how are you?
Good.
How do you think things go at home and just day to day?
Not as good as they could be.
Yeah. What do you think's the major problem?
The way I react to things.
Yeah. And how would you describe that?
It depends on what I get upset about. That determines how I react.
You say that it really makes you sad that your mom is afraid of you. Should she be afraid of you?
She shouldn't have to. Like, she shouldn't have to be, but in this case, she does.
She should be afraid of you.
Yeah.
Why?
Because if she's not and she doesn't, if it's not handled the right way, then somebody could get seriously hurt.
She could get seriously hurt.
Yeah. Her or my sister or anybody else around.
Well, I've heard you say that you've hit her, kicked her, spit on her.
Yeah.
Is that right or wrong, or is that dependent on the incident?
It's not right at all. It's wrong.
It's always wrong.
Yes.
And you always know that it's wrong.
Yeah. It should. The reason why I do it, it's hard for me to make those decisions and control myself in order to keep myself from doing it.
It's a flash. You go from okay to not okay like that.
Yeah.
Do you love your little sister?
I love her a lot.
What happened yesterday?
She'd been getting on my nerves. I just attacked her. I tried to choke her, and I punched her.
Growing up, DJ did witness violent behavior from his father. When DJ lived with his father, he got in trouble at school, and that evening, while he was at his grandmother's, his dad showed up and attacked him. His dad ended up dragging him out of the house and spanking him pretty brutally and twisting him like a pretzel. His father was arrested. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison and only served 3 months. I have not allowed him to see his father. There is a protective order against him. I think my son does blame me for his father not being a part of his life.
Well, after Victoria divorced DJ's father when DJ was 8 years old, DJ went to live with him for a year because Victoria believed DJ was better behaved under his father's roof. Well, DJ claims that's because he was scared of him. And his father eventually ended up in jail for abusing him. You've been hurt. And how does that feel?
Doesn't feel good at all.
How did you feel when it happened to you?
I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I just wanted it to stop.
You feel powerless?
Yeah.
Did you wonder why? Did you wonder if you had done something to deserve it? Did you blame yourself or did you blame the abuser?
Sometimes, it depends on what mood I'm in when I'm thinking about it. Sometimes I'll blame it on myself, and then there's other times where I'll just blame it on who did it to me.
Yeah, but it made you feel bad. I mean, it hurt, and it was painful, and it made you afraid and feel powerless that you couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
Isn't that exactly how you feel?
I do. I absolutely feel powerless and trying to figure out whether to be angry or sad or both. I don't know how to help him.
So it's interesting, as bad as you hated that you would then go do that to someone else.
I know that it doesn't make sense for me to go hurt somebody if I know how it feels. It's just that when in the moment, I don't think about that and just want to hurt and get back.
Do you want to be in a relationship with your dad?
Yeah, I want to, but at the same time, I don't, because I don't want it to happen again.
By the way, I'm really sorry that happened to you. You didn't deserve that, and there's no reason that a child should endure that from their parent. And as a father of 2 boys, I can tell you there's no theory under which that's okay. What do you want in your relationship, in your family?
I just want us to be able to live without having to worry constantly if somebody's going to get hurt.
Do you love your little sister?
I love her a lot. I don't want her to get hurt.
What do you think she's saying to herself today after what happened yesterday?
I know she doesn't. I know that she understands that I have a hard time controlling it and doesn't completely blame me for it. But at the same time, I know she doesn't always feel safe.
And what happened yesterday?
I had been feeling upset with her all day just because I felt like she had been getting on my nerves. And when we left the hotel, for some reason, I found myself just thinking like I wanted to hurt somebody and didn't know why. And kept trying to like stop myself from thinking about it, but for some reason I just couldn't. And eventually at one point I just said I'm scared. She was the only one who heard it, but I didn't say anything else after that, and then a few minutes later I just attacked her.
And when you attacked her, what did you do?
I tried to choke her, and at one point I punched her.
You tried to choke her and then you punched her?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And how did she respond?
She was terrified and didn't know why I did it.
So the question is why? Could all of DJ's issues be the result of his brain not functioning correctly? We're going to reveal some things that we've learned about DJ after the break.
DJ has been diagnosed with PANS, PTSD, and a type of eating disorder. PANS is the acronym for Pediatric Acute Onset Neuropsychiatric Syndrome. It's an autoimmune neurological disorder. It does affect the brain. DJ's eating disorder is where he is very restrictive to the point where at times he will only eat one thing for months. One time he was obsessed with eating baked potatoes. If I didn't make him the baked potato when he asked for it, there have been times where he has swung the bag of potatoes at me like he was going to beat me with it.
Well, Victoria says her son has been diagnosed with several disorders, including OCD, ADHD, PTSD, anxiety, ARFID, and PANS. We're going to explain what all of that means. I'd like to introduce Dr. Daniel Amen. Now, Dr. Amen is a psychiatrist. He's a New York Times best-selling author. He's founder of Amen Clinics with 9 locations across the United States. His clinics have the world's largest database of brain scans for psychiatry, totaling more than 160,000 scans on patients, not just from the United States, but from 150 countries around the world. Now, he's got a new book, The End of Mental Illness, and it shows how most psychiatric problems are not mental health issues at all, but rather they are brain health issues that can really steal your mind. It can really hijack your mind and make a lot of things involuntary. Now, you perform brain scans on DJ, and you did those yesterday, correct?
Correct.
And we have permission to share that information, correct?
Absolutely.
If I can put you to work, can we approach the screens again here as we've done in the past and tell us what we're looking at and what we've seen?
So we do a study called SPECT, and SPECT looks at blood flow and activity. It looks at how your brain works. And it basically shows 3 things: good activity, too little, and too much. And this is a healthy scan. You just want to see it full, even, and symmetrical. Here we're looking down from the top, from one side, then the other.
Okay.
This view, we call it the active view, shows us the most active parts of the brain, which should be here in the back bottom part of the brain in an area called the cerebellum.
Yeah, DJ, come join us down here if you would, because I want you to be really close here where you can understand her, and just stay right there on that white stripe. We'll stay socially distanced as we should here, but you can kind of see everything we're talking about up close. Okay, go ahead.
So again, healthy, and this is DJ's brain. So a lot of your brain works really well, except this area called the medial, just means toward the inside, temporal lobes. And if you really want to hurt someone's life, hurt their temporal lobes.
Right.
Because you can go with mood instability, irritability, temper problems, dark thoughts, and it's been hurt. at some point. This area right here is called the amygdala, which is a part of the brain that responds to fear. And when you damage it, all of a sudden, you can just have these temper problems for little or no reason. Now, there are different kinds of aggression, which we'll talk about. One of them is temporal lobe aggression.
So you've had some impact to your brain, which you know. Well, you knew you had some impact to your head, but it has affected the brain. And there are different parts of the brain that control different functions. You know, some things control speech, some control vision, some control, there's a limbic system that control emotions and things. And the amygdala is one of the areas that can regulate emotions, you know, mood, irritability, temper, the ability to regulate all of that. And that's been impacted with you. You've had an injury to your brain. So if you're wondering, am I just like an evil kid or something? Am I like Damien that all of a sudden goes dark? The fact is that's not true at all. That there is some damage here that causes you to be unable, like I said, to pump the brake and stop yourself sometimes.
When we look at the most active parts of your brain, again, normal, healthy, your brain has a pattern we call the ring of fire. This means your brain's working way too hard. And when it's working too hard, we have to go, why is it working too hard? And I saw your lab tests, and I saw you've been diagnosed with PANDA syndrome, and it stands for pediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorders associated with STRAP, and PANS, which is similar to that. And when I first saw this, I knew nothing about PANDA syndromes because I started looking in 1991. But in 1998, a researcher from the NIMH talked about, we know you need to treat strep throat because it can affect your heart.
Right.
She said, hold on, it can affect your brain. And this whole group of kids where all of a sudden they'd be anxious, they'd have OCD, they'd restrict their eating. And it made me thinking about, well, what about infections causing these kinds of problems? And when you see the ring of fire, in my mind, that's something we should at least look at. And so the goal is calm this down, stabilize his temporal lobes. Hopefully he'll be much better.
Is this making sense to you?
Yeah.
Now that we know what's going on with DJ's brain, is there anything that can be done to help him? We'll talk about that right after the break. Now, Dr. Amen, we've just described some things that have happened brain-wise. Now, some of this, there have been multiple brain insults. There's been trauma from abuse. There has been brain insult from infection that we think has contributed to this. I think we have to also look at some comorbidity of these things didn't happen in a vacuum. His own father went to prison for abusing him. We know that the most powerful role model in any child's life is the same-sex parent. So there are psychological experiences, there are traumatic memories that he has embedded with this, and then you have this brain insult that comes along with it. So we've got a perfect storm here. What's the best course of getting DJ where he deserves to be? What are the first steps, and what do you recommend?
So I always think of my patients in 4 big circles, that there's a biology. We have to get his brain right. So think of it the hardware. You're not going to run software programming, think psychotherapy or residential treatment program, until we get the hardware right. So we need to more fully investigate the PANS and PANDAS and get that better treated. I think he needs a medicine to stabilize his temporal lobes and to calm down the cingulate. So I have some medication recommendations. He's also addicted to video games. This is a disaster. My experience, it's really hard to get someone well when the input to their brain is dark and negative. Plus, there are other things these video games do to the brain that a lot of people don't really understand. So if he's having, in a sense, these behavior seizure disorders, video games always make it worse. Plus, his brain is malnourished because of the restrictive eating. So working with him, diet, trying to get rid of the video games, medication, supplements, all that's important. And then once you get the hardware better, then you can program it. So there's specific psychological treatments for trauma. One I like called EMDR that we use a lot at Amen Clinics can really help take those terrible memories and decrease them, and then work with the family on not being hostage, because if you don't give him his way, he explodes. What you're teaching him is to explode. And so, but you have to do that in a safe environment. And when you're a single mom, when there's not a lot of support and structure, that's hard.
You don't want to reward bad behavior, but you don't want to precipitate confrontation either.
Right.
I always tell victims of abuse, the last thing you want to do is confront your abuser and precipitate a confrontation, but then you don't want to reward bad behavior by caving in. That's why I say you can't move and you can't stand still.
Right.
But the whole point, DJ, that I want you to understand here is that a whole lot of this is just simply not your fault.
What I want you to do, DJ, is to love your brain. Eat better, because your brain uses 1/3 of the calories you consume. So if you eat junk food, you're gonna think like junk food, which is not good.
So it's peas and carrots, buddy. How boring is that? No, there are some good healthy foods. We can work this out. All right, so Dr. Amen, thank you so much, and you're gonna help with some guidance with this so we get the right medications and get on the right path. And you're willing to work on this, right? Because this is your path out of here. And there should be no more stigma to this than if you had a bum knee and you had to work on that. I mean, this is part of your body. You got to get it healthy. And it's not about being a bad kid. It's about having a brain that needs some things worked on. And I brought you the best in the country right here. This is the guy. And so we're going to start working on that. You've been to all these doctors, you've been to all these places, and then you say you get these neurologists, and they're kind of like, well, you know, I don't know, maybe, sort of. They're in a high volume business. Mm-hmm. They got to turn them and burn them, run the scans, get them out, push them on to the next. And then you run on to somebody that says, no, wait a minute, slow down. We need to figure it out, and then what to do about it. And that's who Dr. Amen and all of the Amen clinics around the country are all about. And by the way, he doesn't ask me to say these things. That's not part of it. But as I said, Amen clinics are across the United States. You want answers, that's where you want to go. So Dr. Amen, thank you for being here. And you understand now the title of his book, The End of Mental Illness. He talks about the fact that not everything that people label as mental illness is at all mental illness, that in fact, much of it, if not the majority of it, has to do with neurological issues, and that you have to resolve those before you can expect to see change. So it's an absolute read. It is in bookstores now. I highly, highly recommend it. And by the way, it's an easy read. He writes it so you can understand what he's talking about, as you can see from hearing him here. For more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. You can follow me on all the social media platforms and listen to Robin's podcast. I've got a secret. Stay safe. You embrace all of this. You feel good about this? You feel like you got some hope?
Yeah.
Okay. Your enthusiasm is underwhelming, but we're going to lean into that and do the right thing. All right. We'll see you next time.
Take 'em to my house, turn the party didn't hear ya. I thought that I could fly, but woke up on the asphalt. I swear there was still a storm. I've always been naive. Call it.
You know we gon' get it. Ooh, you know we gon' get it. Ooh, you know we gon' get it. Every day and night, that's right.